idea for the 9/11 Memorial actually came about with firefighters. It was myself, Chris Borden, and Brian Bowman. We were out working at Station 15 here, doing landscaping in the front of the yards that we do every Saturday. There used to be an old oval here where the memorial is that was just filled with dirt for years. We looked at it and we thought, you know, we can really do something different there. You know, planting a tree was passed around, then a memorial came about, and then we're like, well, if we do a memorial, what are we going to do? So then we decided, well, we're right in between a police station and a fire station, and 9/11 Memorial would be perfect because it affected both police and fire, all public safety. So Chris Borden actually took that idea to our chief staff at that time, and the chief staff really loved it. So Chief Greener, who was our chief at that time, was able to secure the piece from the World Trade Center that we have at our memorial.
Well, the memorial behind me is something special. What was really special about it was the trip that we took, probably about 8 to 10 firefighters from Bakersfield City. We went to sign for the memorial you see behind us, and understanding how special that was to the FDNY firefighters. Once we arrived, we were treated like royalty because they thought for someone to come all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast to retrieve the memorial you see behind us, and be able to bring it back here to share with California, with Bakersfield, Kern County, how special that was to them. And being able to be around them, hear their stories, and how it really affected us, and how this will allow us to never forget in this city. But that trip for many of us will allow us to never forget, because we actually interacted with many of those that were there, and hearing the stories of those that lost their lives.
I was very honored and very humbled to be one of the guys that actually went back to get this piece that you see behind us. We went back to New York, set up by our chief at the time, Doug Greener. Went back and worked with the Port Authority of New York and received the piece. It was just, I couldn't describe how emotional it was just to pick up this piece, Port Authority of New York, have all the FDNY guys there, and to see them. When we picked up the piece, there were still a couple fire trucks in there that were smashed. There was an elevator that was smashed to bits, a couple patrol cars, I think an ambulance, and they had, like we did as well, an emotional connection to this piece and to everything that was in there. And I mean, that was their brothers, their fathers, their uncles, their cousins, their best friends that perished in part of this right behind us. So yeah, it was very humbling, very emotional. I was very blessed to be part of the group that came back and brought this back.
The group of us that went to New York, we were able to meet with FDNY firefighters. They invited us into their fire station, showed us around. they actually met us at the Port Authority, which is where the piece was being held, which is where we signed for it and put it on the trailer to be driven back to Bakersfield. They met us there with numerous fire engines and fire trucks and their personnel, and it was really emotional to see them part of it. They said that we were one of the first organizations that actually invited them to be a part of that process. To show their thanks, they actually escorted it out from New York to the New York city limits.
We were so fortunate we had Cynthia Lake and Rain for Rent donated along with one of the trucking companies out of Bakersfield, drove it all the way back. We actually had a police escort from the Port Authority of New York and NYPD meet us there at the Port Authority and actually gave us a procession all the way out to the city limits. They were shutting down all the freeways, and it was really neat. And then once we got it here, we actually had a ton of the bikers, of the military escort bikers, and a lot of cars. We had fire engines, and we brought it all the way out back to Station 1 off the hill when it got to the 58.
We contacted the Bakersfield Fire Department to see how we could help, and immediately found out that they needed help and we wanted to. They had a set of plans on what they wanted to do, where they wanted to put it, and we brought in the various crafts that could make that happen, and they all stepped up and donated their labor, whether it would be journeymen, apprentices, or retirees for each of the crafts. But Local 155, the ironworkers, is the one that really brought it to our attention and said, we need to be doing this. And they were exactly right. We had the operating engineers, we had the teamsters, we had the ironworkers, the cement masons, the carpenters, the electricians. They went all the way to the end with no question.
Our guys did a tremendous job in getting that ready, and when we have our museum downtown, we're actually going to have a 9/11 memorial area as well, an education area. This has a number on it that from the Port Authority of New York that has that declaration of what this piece is. And actually what you see right here, our medallions are inlaid. The sundial will actually hit each one of these at the exact same time when the planes went down. So you see the 4 planes, the 2 that hit the Twin Towers, the 1 that hit the Pentagon, and the last one that went down in Pennsylvania. This is our Pearl Harbor of our generation. So we obviously have an emotional experience. It takes us back to that day when we think about 9/11, like our fathers were before us with Pearl Harbor. But it was probably, to me, it might be just a little bit more of an emotional experience because we had social media. We were able to watch it on TV, the aftermath, and we knew that all the thousands of people that were going to perish that day. And so the people that are our generation, they come here and they have that experience, and they'll see that, and it takes them back to that day. Some of the younger kids and stuff like that, like our next academy that we're going to have probably in February, some of those kids probably won't, I call them kids, probably weren't going to be born when 9/11 happened. So it's a little bit, so it's more of an education. We'll take them inside and we'll show them. We have a 9/11 education area inside, and we'll tell them kind of what our experience was on that day, what their parents' experience might have been that day, and so it is more of an educational experience.
Well, I think what we ultimately want people to do or to remember is to not forget. Like the caption says, we will never forget, and it's here for people to enjoy and to remember, to learn. We have our little mini museum that people can, if they don't know about 9/11, they can go in there and see pictures and learn a little bit more about it. And behind the memorial, we have our survivor tree that's actually a seedling of the survivor tree that was in New York and survived the attacks of that day.
The biggest takeaway I want people to have is just to really remember and honor everyone. That's the reason why we built this, is to educate the youth that has no idea, it wasn't even alive when it happened, to have a living reminder of the day of 9/11 and how it affected the nation and honestly the world. And we just want everyone to never forget.